this idea of, okay, well, what if we wanted to make it a learning experience for the kids, but also unique and fun. It's gotta be exciting, or else, it's gonna be boring.
Right.
So, so we just came up with this adventure aspect, and we can teach kids like cool things that guys pick up from the military that, their dads might have been able to teach them if they're still around. So the very first adventure we did was in September of 2017, and it took us months and months to infiltrate the Gold Star community and be able just to find families that would want to participate. Because again, we had nothing to back up our idea. Since it hadn't really been done before, we couldn't even use anybody else as an example. Mm-hmm. So it just took knocking on doors.
A lot of trust.
We really just kind of, the way that we were most successful finding families was just going on Facebook groups in the San Diego area that were Gold Star Facebook groups. And as, with the least amount of creepiness to just a direct message, these Gold Star widows, and it's like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're looking to do. Would you and your kids be interested in participating? And we ended up getting 7 families to come on board. So we had 11 kids total. And so we had 11 vets that we paired them up with, and we went out to Warner Springs, which is just about an hour and some change east of here. And we set up this big mission-based treasure hunt. So we actually took our vets out to the location a week prior. We made our routes, did all our waypoints. They actually buried their treasure in certain areas. And so when the following week came, we had all the families there, and the kids learned how to plot points on a map, how to read a compass, how to get their pace count, and their all the fun stuff. And
shoot an azimuth.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny because we had a lot of guys that had been out for a while, so they kind of had to do their own refreshers as well.
I don't even know how to do that.
But it was a great experience, and we were more nervous about what was the dynamic between the vets and the kids going to be like. Was it going to be a good one because they're like, hey, these guys are like my dad? Or was it going to be sad because it's like, hey, these guys are like my dad, and now it's a sad day, and we'd maybe bringing up bad memories and all this stuff.
Some wounds.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't know what it was going to be like, but it turned out to be just the most amazing day. It was a beautiful day out. Kids had a great time. They learned a lot. Vets got to also connect with one another, because we ultimately want to build that veteran community base. So yeah, it was just an all-around amazing experience, and from that day we've never had to try to find new Gold Star families. They always come to us just through word of mouth, just through the families that we already have. Every adventure that we have, they're always sharing on social media, and they're doing like their live videos or their photos, and so guaranteed the day of an adventure, we have like 3 new signups. Nice. Every time. So the harder part now is actually finding the veterans to fulfill those roles. And but yeah, we over a year and a half, we had quadrupled our numbers. I mean, we were up to 45 kids at one point. We're down to 43 just because families have moved, and we've lost a lot of vets as well, just because they've moved out of state and don't want to be in calm California anymore.
I hear you. I mean, that's kind of the move right now, right? Everything is just kind of crazy, especially in California. Everybody's getting out of here.
Everyone's bailing. So we actually not this year, but in 2020, we lost 7 guys.
Wow.
Six that had moved out of state. We had one pass on the 4th of July due to a vehicle accident, and so we're trying to just build up our veteran base again, and
which is kind of strange because of how veteran friendly and homey this area in California is, specifically Southern California. Yeah,
and really, I think it comes down to commitment issues. Again, I think a lot of people, until we can actually sit down and just explain what the program is about, it's I think people think they don't want to get into something that they can't
stick with for a long time.
And so, which is great. I'm happy they're thinking about that. They're like, hey, well, if I'm going to fulfill this role, am I going to be able to hold up my end of the bargain? And so yeah, we just it's really not as big of a commitment as I think most people think. I mean, you'd have more to say about that. I don't know what your first thoughts were.
For me, if you're asking me my first thoughts when my buddy told me about it and then I signed up, I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty big commitment initially. I was like, man, I got to kind of be around and make sure I make it to almost every event or whatever the case is. But then I realized, like, sending a text message to my mentee or their family every now and then just to check up on them is really not that big a deal.
Yeah. And your mentee's out of state.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that too.
It would obviously be harder for you to be there physically for them, but he's also on the older side. So you have a teen, which is great. So they probably have their own phone, and it's easier to communicate that way.
Not only that, but even the events, they're spaced out enough where it's not like, oh man, I can't do it this weekend. It's like, oh, you guys, you give us more than enough time in advance to say, hey, this is when our next event might be or is going to be or whatever the case is, if you can make it. Most of the time, I think that's adequate enough, unless, like this last one, I unfortunately had to go somewhere. But.
Yeah. And, we try, because, I mean, we try to give all the adventure dates out at the beginning of the year. So you can, literally mark a calendar for our 3 large adventures. This year,
so usually you do 3 a year.
Yeah, so we do 3 large events per year, and when I say large, I mean we have anywhere from 125 to 200 people, depending on volunteer base and stuff like that. So it's a lot of people, and we do our spring, summer, and fall adventure. So the summer one is always easy because we do it on Father's Day weekend. It's the Saturday before Father's Day, so that date's always really easy for us. And then for the fall, it's always our Halloween themed adventure as well. So I mean, those two are oh man. If anyone's listening, you can check out our website. I'm sure we'll share details later, but we do post event videos for all the adventures we do. So we're a very visual company. We want to be able to showcase the relationships that are being built, and you can see the genuine smiles and laughter on everybody, and it's great. We live for that.
And I love that you can see. I know when my mentee couldn't make it to one of the events, I got paired up with a little girl, and she was not about it at all. And she happened to be it was the Halloween event. Yep. It was the youngest one in the group of all the groups, different ages or whatever. And I remember she was just not she did not want to do it by herself. She wanted her mom to come. And like eventually we opened up enough where I think not even halfway through, a lot of the younger kids bailed because they were scared. And she was like, no, I want to keep going. Yeah, she's a trooper. Yeah. And her mom was like, let me come with you. And she's like, no, stay away. It's just like, you see them like build that confidence and grow. Yeah, it's funny, for the first adventure that we did, we actually had the moms asking if they could come along, which is not a big deal at all. They're going to be off in the woods with these random strangers. So not a problem at all. And once everybody showed up and we were getting ready to load up the trucks and head out to our first waypoint to drop all the kids and vets off, the mom started coming, and the kids like literally turned around and they're like, no, get out of here. Like, this is our thing. And from that day on, like, there's always been that separation between all the moms and the kids, but we make sure they're well taken care of, and they got their I seen that you guys have
area and their activities. Yeah. So, but it's good too for them because it's their bonding time. Mm-hmm. That's actually a factor that we didn't take into consideration when we first started, was the impact it was going to have on the women. Majority of the families we have are still in single parent homes. Mm-hmm. And so, mom's left with wearing all the hats in the house, doing all the activities, going to school, doing all the chores, doing all the meals, taking them to their sports. Like they do everything. And so, for them, it's their time to sit and be with the other widows that have actually experienced their tragedy, that actually experience, what they do on a daily basis. And so, it became a pretty nice little group session for them, because they can just sit and just talk and just, share stories. And it's sad to hear that some of the women we talk to, they're like, because it's been so long since their husbands passed that even talking with their families, they just don't want to hear it anymore, you know. And it's, you know, to them, it's kind of old news, and they don't want to hear the stories. So for all the women to be together, they're
share,
free to share. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really just, there's 3 different groups that we're trying to appeal to, and
it's working. So
yeah,
it's
been great.
It's working,
yeah, it's been great.
How did that evolve? How did like what's obviously one of those things involved because the kids are like, "Hey, mom, get out of here." But what did you guys see that you were like, "Hey, we need to start making up," you know, like the Halloween event. They had like all the activities for the women to the point where like even snacks and like drinks and stuff. What at what point were you like, "Hey, we got to set this aside as well when we're setting up these events"?
I think it was just a matter of just making everybody feel comfortable with where they're at. You know, while the adventures are very exciting for the vets and the kids, you know, we didn't want the women to feel left out. And they don't, regardless. Like, even when they just have time to sit with one another, because sometimes they just take their spots and they just put their chairs in a circle and they just talk, and it's great. But yeah, we wanted them to also look forward to coming. You know, it's, on one hand, it's great, they get to show up, they have free babysitting for a few hours, they get now they get excited to show up and kind of push their kids off to side. All right, get out of here, go do your thing. But yeah, we just wanted to just make sure everyone was included, and just something that everyone can look forward to.
What's some of your favorite like success stories out of the accomplishments that you've seen out of this thing since it started?
The best feedback we can get is from the families. And like I said, there's a lot of organizations out there that do a lot for the Gold Star community. But when we have the widows coming up to us and saying, you know, this is something that my kid yearned for. You know, we go to these events they're great. They're like a once a year thing. You know, they show up, they have a good time, but then it's, you know, like, we'll see you next time. But to have them be able to connect with their mentor and actually build a relationship, and that's what it's all about for us, is making people feel valued and wanted and know that there's someone there to support them. And that's really been our biggest success that we've had, is seeing that it's working, you know, seeing that it's actually creating an impact in the lives of everybody involved. And
I see you always you're always trying to like tell everybody, hey, make sure you just catch up, just touch base.
Yeah,
with your mentees and stuff.
You know, we're fully aware that people have lives. You know, a lot of our mentors have families and kids, and again, they're not there to fill the role of dad for this other child. But we also don't want them to you know, just connect with them at the Avengers. You know, like you said, if you're able to even shoot a text or email, like something as small as that can be what changes someone's day. And we have some vets that are single with no families, and they hang out with their kids as much as they can, which is great. You know, and we don't even know about it. Yeah. Like, we'll see it on Instagram. We'll post pictures that they're out with their Gold Star family, not even just their mentee, but they'll take their family out to like a concert or camping. And we have guys that travel out of state to go visit their mentees, or because we have families up in, you know, Northern California, Arizona. Yours is in Texas. Like, it's crazy. So even just for around Thanksgiving time, we had one of our vets that traveled out to Phoenix to go hang out with his mentee and his family, and we had no idea. And so he saw, and cool. That's means more to us because we know they're not doing it to be like, hey, look what I'm doing. Like, he did it because he
genuinely wants to help, and that shows you're picking up some good vets.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we love everybody. That's part of the program. We've been really, really happy to see the amount of engagement that everyone's given us, and yeah, we appreciate the time you guys put in, because like we say it at every adventure too, and we mean it wholeheartedly. You guys are what makes the organization great. You know, we're able to facilitate stuff, but you know, without the time and effort you put in, and taking your role seriously, it wouldn't be as successful as it is. And I think that's why we've grown